So I'm just here in the garden, having a little bit of a stretch. My hip flexibility is pretty terrible. Something I'm hoping to improve a little bit. So we're just doing a little bit of stretching. Thing with stretching is hold the poses for minimum 20-30 seconds and to stay in them, revisit them a good number of times. I've neglected stretching quite a bit over the last few years, really been focusing on strength training, and I've lost a lot of flexibility that I had, so I need to get that back and get that balance of strength, mobility, full range of motion in all of the joints, strength throughout the full range of motion in all of the joints, and that will protect me from injury and give me a whole new load of movement capabilities that I didn't have before. You know, the capacity to get into the splits position and the side splits position are of a significant advantage in a sport where extreme mobility and agility is of value. As you can see, my hips are really tight in this side splits position. Obviously some people can get completely flat in the pancake position, can get their nose to their knees, and of course can get their legs fully wide. My first MMA instructor, Jez Coville, has a photo in that Jean-Claude Van Damme position with two chairs in the full box splits. Might be a long way off, but mark my words, that's in my future. Mark my words. Glorious victory. It's going to be a tough one, that. But the only thing that would ever stop me from achieving that is a failure to follow through with the disciplined effort every day. So that's on me. So that's the side split position. I'll go back to that again later during the day. I've got pretty tight quads as well, so I like to sit in the kneeling position. That stretches out the top of the feet as well, which in Western society, where we don't kneel very much, that top of the foot position, your foot is usually at a right angle through most of the day, so when we go to stretch it out in this position, you can get a lot of discomfort in the top of your foot. I get a lot of discomfort in the top of my foot. So just spending a little bit more time in this position each day will help work on that. And it's an easy thing I can do just to make my jiu-jitsu better. I find my quads are super tight as well. Just trying to sit upright here and relax into it. I can feel this all along the top of my thighs. I can feel it in my shins a little bit. I can feel it in my ankles when my feet are being flexed, and in the top of my foot, just before where my foot becomes toes. That's also kind of taking pressure. Okay, I'll revisit that later in the day as well. The next stretch that I like is a hamstring stretch. For some reason I find if I reach with both, it can be a bit tight in the calves, so I find that I like to point one toe and pull one back. Point one toes and pull the other foot back. And after doing that a few times, I find that I can then get to the toes much more easily. I just want to sink into that. Just relax into it, let the heels come off the ground a little bit just to be sure that posterior chain is fully stretched out. That's the goal. It's good also for the lower back. I don't want to put pressure on the lower back, pulling myself forwards, but at the moment my lower back is in a good place, so I just want to give it a little bit of a stretch. I'm happy for more of that stretch to come in the upper back and from the shoulders than the reaching, but the majority I want to come from the ankles, the knees, and the hips through the posterior chain in the calves and the hamstrings, and a little bit the muscles in the lower back and more in the muscles of the upper back. So we just relax into that for a minute. And I always like, after I've done a stretch that folds me in that direction, to do the opposite stretch, just to make sure that the lower back, upper back, the spine is healthy. So I go half cobra, just let all the spinal vertebrae settle into position. I don't want to push it. Any injuries in this part of my back are horrible. I've had them before, so I'm not pushing anything here. I'm just settling into the stretch. So that's half cobra and full cobra. Trying to just look a little bit more up at the sky each time. So I like to get a little bit more of a stretch in my quadriceps by reaching behind from here. And just pulling gently on the feet. If I can lift the head and shoulders as well, that just adds to the stretch through the spine and down into the quadriceps. I'm just going to go back into that cobra, full cobra. And try and pull the feet back. You can see just how tight everything is for me. And I like to just finish this off with a bit of child pose. Just reaching forwards, finger walking forwards to stretch out the lats. I'm trying to sink the hips back and down to stretch out the hips, hip flexors, quadriceps a little bit. Sink back and then drag forwards with the fingers. And then we can just do a half Hindu press up. So we come to here, dig the toes. Toes back down and finish in that cobra again. Okay, so that's it. I'm just going to repeat a lot of those moves a couple of times. It's really nice out in the sunshine to, when you're already warmed up, just to get a bit of a stretch on. Hopefully shift a little bit of that muscle soreness from powerlifting last week. Until next time.